Hello, it is July 17th and it is 9:09 a.m. There are certain things that I have to get through and let everyone know about. First of all, I just wanted to add a few things that I forgot to say in the previous videos. Kelly from law enforcement also told me what her age was. She said that she was 30 years old. And so I saw her at the Russian consulate right outside there, and she had her hair like all over the place. And on July 2nd, she was putting ads on there at nighttime for me to go and meet her at Food Line. It would be like a Caucasian girl wearing very little clothes, running with braids on, basically saying, "I've got braids now." And then it would be like the Food Line commercial right afterwards, which was basically like saying, "You want to come see me at Food Line?" Yeah. So basically that was what happened on July 2nd. Then on July 3rd, it was Kelly from law enforcement was putting ads on there for like an underwear, and the underwear is like talking and saying that I'm really comfy. And then she was touching my penis while I was watching that commercial, which was literally saying that I'm like your underwear. July 13th, she was putting up ads on there that were basically ads with the same Caucasian girl running with braids on, and then right afterwards it's the gutter guards commercial, which has a very dirty meaning to it. It's supposed to be basically cum gutters, which is a man's private parts. And I know this for a fact that she was referring to this due to the fact that every time that a brain savant test or something of the sort would come out, she would always have this commercial, this ad being put on there. It would say, "Never clean your gutters again," as in like, yeah. So basically, yeah. And then except for that, I also had to put something else in there that happened on the night of July 16th. So basically, it's like the entire day she's trying to do things like touch my penis and things of that sort of nature, only because she's a money grab. And the reason we know this is due to the fact that I would know when the brain savant test results come out just by the way that she would be touching my penis and things of that certain nature. So May 10th, 2026, law enforcement did a brain savant test, and it came out 21 days later on June 7th. And I know for a fact that this is when it came out because of the fact that on that night, on June 7th, as soon as it comes out, literally 10 minutes afterwards, she starts touching my penis a lot, stroking it a lot, and she started using all this severe mental torture drugs so that I would be I would be forced to go to her. And then she started stroking my penis a lot. And then yeah, and then except for that, they also did another test on June 24th, where they let go of my ears to try to see if my brain savant powers are affected by when my ears are let go of, and how much of those powers are affected, how much it increases. So you know for a fact that when ear drugging is removed, I'm already superhuman as it is, and that's 6 hours of testing on August 9, 2022. And then on top of that, you also have April 22nd, 2025, proving that if my ears are let go along with ear drugging being removed, then my brain savant powers increases exponentially even more. And on top of that, November 14, 2025 also proves that my brain savant powers increase exponentially over time anyways. So on June 24th, while I was driving, not at home, because they know that if they do it at home, then other countries in the world would find out about it. So after April 22nd, 2025, they did the test they let go of my ears, and they were all the way on the back of my head, and my brain on the inside, instead of being like this, it was like this. It was just like zing, 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 zing. It was extremely powerful, and every country in the world, every government in the world basically saw it with their own eyes, because these ears all the way on the back of my head is something really visible, easily able to be seen. And they saw it, and they saw the outside where the ears were all the way on the back of my head, and they saw the inside scans of my brain. Instead of being like this, it was literally like this, extremely powerful. It was just like zing, 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 zing. And so yeah, those instantaneous photographic memory, focusing, and innovation increases even more when they let go of my ears as well. So basically, yeah, so they obviously argue about things that they're extremely envious of, and they wouldn't argue about it themselves. They would get someone else to argue, like my dad, the greedy framer. And then 2 days later, when he finds out that my brain savant's about to get freed, you just watch the other video. He's either going like on February 11th, "You want this sister? You want this sister?" He's selling his sisters for me to commit incest with in exchange for illegal assurances of money. You know this for a fact, because on February 11th, 3:17 a.m., he was told that this is an open advertisement for incest, and so sending a porn star's picture with your sister Fur's name on it. And on March 7th, he's still doing the exact same thing, only because he's desperate to try to get illegal assurances of money. So basically, yeah. I just had to start off with Kelly from Law Enforcement. So because June 24th, June 24th. Yeah, the results, I'm driving and they let go of my ears to try to test to see how much my powers would increase, except for air drugging. Air drugging, when removed, my powers are already extremely powerful, much more than normal human beings can ever imagine. Instantaneous photographic memory, focusing, and innovation would still be there. Innovation, by the way, was tested a few weeks before April 22nd, 2025, and when the ears are let go of, like how it was on April 22nd, 2025, those powers are increased tenfold, exponentially, even more. That was tested April 22nd, 2025, using brain scanner artificial intelligence. So basically, yeah, they were testing that on June 24th, 2026, just a few weeks ago. And so the results came out on July 8th. And we know this for a fact because Kelly from Law Enforcement started stroking my penis a lot on July 8th. Yeah, pretty much. July 8th. Yeah, it was exactly 14 days later. And this is how I know that these results came out for 21 days later for May 10th, 2026, which it did on November 14th, 2025, came out 21 days later on December 10th when the girl hit the back of my car. But I did not know that the results for when the ears were let go of comes out 14 days later. Only reason I knew this was because of how Kelly from Law Enforcement was literally stroking my penis literally 14 days later after June 24th, 2026, a few weeks ago. So basically that's what she does. And then the other thing that she does, so that basically proves that she's a money grab. She only runs after me stroking my penis whenever the Brain Savant test results come out. So that proves that she's a money grab, and this is no James Bond story where she's trying to get close to me to try to find out something or something like that. There's nothing to find out. I've been watched 24/7 since I was an 11-year-old child, and everyone who committed crimes were people in law enforcement and their BFFs and the family, like Assad, who committed the wedding crime, and they're all roaming around freely, and law enforcement tells them not to open their mouths about answering any questions, and Assad literally packs up and leaves whenever he's found out to be extremely guilty. These are the people, they're criminals, and they're all walking around freely. They're in law enforcement and they're BFS, and law enforcement's also running sex games with Uncle Joey's in-laws since 2001, due to which they had to run sex games for Uncle Joey so aggressively at the funeral in 2023 November. Basically, yeah, so law enforcement and their BFFs and the family are basically guilty. They are the criminals, but there's no investigation going on over there. There's no prosecution, nothing at all. They're all walking around freely without any charges, any problems, anything at all. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. And so, yeah, and so there's no James Bond story going on over here since I was watched 24/7 since I was an 11-year-old child. Literally the only one, and law enforcement and all their BFFs and the family who weren't watched. The facts and evidence showed that all they did was run crimes and fraud with each other, money fraud, sex schemes. That's all they've done. Sex schemes started in 2001 with Uncle Joey's in-laws, due to which they had to continue running them in November 2023 at the funeral. And then you also have money fraud that started in probably around 2022 with unemployment disability fraud, been going on till this very day today. Yeah. This is all that law enforcement's been up to. So there's no James Bond story over here where she's trying to get close to me to try to find out anything or anything of that sort of nature. If there was, then she wouldn't be stroking my penis on days when the Brain Savant test results come out. Like for May 10th, it was June 7th, the night of June 7th, 21 days later. And for June 24th, 2026, a few weeks ago, it was for the ear being released, it was July 8th, 14 days later. So the only reason I know when the Brain Savant test results come out is because she starts stroking my penis, and for the May 10th results coming out, she started doing things like she would touch my tongue and then make my rectum feel wet, like literally, yeah, a day or two after the results came out for May 10th, 2026. So she's basically a gold digger and she's a money grab, and that's all there is to it. There's no James Bond story over here. If there was, then I wouldn't know exactly what the dates are when the Brain Savant test results come out. Yeah, yep. So basically, yeah. So the other thing that Kelly from Law Enforcement does is she basically, when her shift's over, she gets her partner to basically after midnight night put up ads for her to try to advertise herself, so that to try to seduce me. This is no place to be finding a husband for yourself. This is no place to be finding someone whom you think could provide for you. She's hitting my teeth right now. Yeah. So this is no place to be finding a husband for yourself that you think could provide for you. And there's no James Bond story going on over here where you're James Bond and you're trying to find someone, trying to find info on someone. Since she literally showed me her face, I know what her age is, her family's from Utah, literally everything about her. The only thing that missing was literally her social security number. Like in the end, I felt like going like, hey, but wait, you didn't give me your social security number yet. So yeah, literally. Yeah, so those are the facts. So July 2nd, she was trying to get me to go to Food Line, and she was like, look at me. It was like an ad of a Caucasian girl with braids, and she was wearing very little clothes, and it had the Food Line ad right afterwards. And then July 3rd, it was an underwear commercial where the underwear's talking, and the underwear's like, I'm really nice and comfy, and you're wearing, and she was touching my penis while I saw the underwear commercial to try to say on July 3rd that she's like my underwear. And then July 13th, she it was the gutter guards commercial, basically a dirty ad. And then so basically what she would do is she would then, after I started making the videos, she would have her partner at the night shift to advertise for her. Like I wouldn't know, and so that she would try to seduce me that way. Here is the commercial. It's a Siggi's commercial. It's like yogurt. It's called Siggi's. And it was after midnight, 35 minutes after midnight on July 16th. There it is. And July 16th, 12:35 a.m. And there it is. It's the Siggi's commercial. Yeah. So basically, yeah. And so that's what I had to start off with, that this is no place to be finding a husband for yourself that you think could provide for you. And that's literally what the story is about, because she literally all runs after me like a gold digger or a money grab each and every single time a Brain Savant test result comes out. For like May 10th, it came out in 21 days, and June 24th came out in 14 days. How else would I know exact timing of these test results coming out if she wasn't doing things like touching my penis and making my rectum feel wet and touching my tongue and stuff like that? Yeah. So basically, that's what it is. But so for today, I want to talk about the other people over here. Mainly, the people that I want to talk about is the sex addiction that basically people like Junaid and law enforcement have. So basically yesterday, I know for a fact one of the girls called the police on Junaid. Again, yesterday was July 16th, and one of the girls called the police on Junaid, clearly showing that these people are only doing this out of extreme envy of me and these girls liking me. Mainly, they would find out about the girls liking me and running after me, and then they would then try to run after the girls and be like, please, sleep with me, please. And then the girl would just be like, no, I don't want to. And then they would keep running after the girls until the girls would be forced to call the police on them. Now, the thing about Junaid is he's literally copied every single thing about me, including my appearance. The only difference is he would wear glasses all day long. He wore a black sweater instead of blue. He would, claim to be autistic, and that he's also obsessed with being a knight. Not every autistic person is obsessed with being a knight, just letting you know. You could find your own obsessions and make up stories about that. But for me, like high school would tell you, like Natalia would tell you that, we used to call him the History Channel in high school because he was obsessed with it. So yeah, I was always like this since I was a 9-year-old child. And on January 20th, 2026, they have what's called, I call it the time machine, and they prove that literally when I was a 9-year-old child, this is how my Brain Savant started off in the evolution process, where I would just stare into the History Channel logo all day from morning till night. until my mother would turn off the TV at nighttime, and the next day it would start off again. So basically, yeah. Yeah, if you want to be autistic, you got to remember that autistic people have their own natural habitat that they make. It's usually around the TV screen since early childhood. For me, it was like the History Channel logo from the age of 9, and so I would just stare into it all day and night long from morning till night. And then the next day I would do the exact same thing. At nighttime, my mother would just turn off the TV, and that's how the evolution process of my brain savant started. Now, the thing about autistic people is they have their own natural habitat. It's usually like around like the TV since early childhood, and for me, it evolved from that to being the textbooks. And from October 2019 till July 1st, 2023, like how I used to stare into the History Channel logo as a child, which was proven on January 20th, 2026, using what I call the time machine that they have, where they just tell their time machine, they're like artificial intelligence, lock up the entire brain of his, except for the childhood autistic part, and it would do that. And I literally felt exactly like how I felt as a 9-year-old child watching the History Channel and watching those documentaries. You know, I'm telling the truth over here, because there's no way I would know exactly what part of my brain they locked up and how I was feeling. And the artificial intelligence also told him exactly that after the test was done on January 20th, 2026, clearly proving from facts and evidences that I told the truth about my early childhood, where as a 9-year-old child, I would stare into the History Channel logo all day from morning till night, till at nighttime my mother would turn off the TV, and the next day I would do the exact same thing. So basically, autistic people have a natural habitat that they're interested in. You could like someone told Junaid, like, research this thing a little bit, you know, like they have probably books on autistic people out there, or like have someone in law enforcement just like ask me like, what do autistic people do? And I would tell them like, this is like a little too much. This is not how autistic people are like. I can guarantee you that much. They're like books on this stuff. Just like read it before you want to pretend to be one. So basically, autistic people have their own natural habitat. For me, it evolved over time and also gave me superpowers as a human being, which is why it started off this entire mess, because they became extremely envious of me after doing absolutely nothing but running sex schemes and money fraud since 2001. Every single person that they would point at, including Assad, who should be pointed at and asked questions, would all be criminals who would commit crimes with law enforcement, and law enforcement would commit crimes with them with sex schemes and money fraud. Yeah, so basically that is what happened. And so the thing about autistic people is they have their own natural habitat. For me, it evolved over time, and they were able to check the early evolution process using their time machine. Call it the time machine. On January 20th, 2026, they basically just told their time machine, they're like, all right, artificial intelligence, lock up his entire autistic brain savant, except for let go of the childhood autistic part. And I was able to watch documentaries on that day, exactly like how I did as a 9-year-old child when my autistic brain savant first started off. So basically, yeah. Autistic people have their own natural habitat. It does not include like older women their mother's age that they go and beg for sex from, like how Junaid was begging my elementary school teacher, whom he doesn't even know, by the way, only due to extreme envy that these people like me and no one likes him, not in a sexual way. She just likes me as in, like, you know how school teachers like would put in their name in there from before if like they found out something about their students. That's exactly how it is. If I was a school teacher and I had a female student, I would have done the exact same thing, where I would have just put my name in there, like, when you get your brain savant freed, you're gonna have people grabbing onto you just spend 2 weeks with your brain savant, test it out, see how it is, come to me first afterwards. I want to ask you questions first. You know, it's that sort of thing. That's all there was to it. And Junaid and like the drug addict Ibrahim, the Greedy Framer spokesperson, took it a little too seriously, and they became extremely envious, and they were like running after them. And like autistic people would never do this, mainly because they have their own obsessions and what I call natural habitats. My natural habitat when I was a 9-year-old child started off with the History Channel, and I would stare into the History Channel logo all day, night long, from morning till night. And if you ask someone like Natalia from my high school, she would tell you that they literally called me the History Channel. Yeah, because that's how it was in early childhood. It just started off. So basically, that's how it was. And autistic people always have a natural habitat. So mine kind of evolved from that History Channel to textbooks. And I love the fact that it evolved like that, because then I got all these superpowers as a human being, including instantaneous photographic memory, innovation. I'll tell you the dates. Instantaneous photographic memory and focusing was tested on August 9th, 2022 for 6 hours. It was tested November 14th, 2025, mid-May 2023, April 22nd, 2025, where it was tested to see how much even after ear drugging, ears being let go of would make a difference. May 10th, 2026. Also, the ears letting go of was tested a few weeks ago again on May 24th, 2026. So June 24th, 2026 and May 10th, 2026 were both tested a few months ago, obviously, because they were both in this year. So yeah, autistic people have a natural habitat that they're obsessed with. Their natural habitat is never going to include some woman their mother's age that they're begging for sex till their son, who is only about 2 years younger than me, is forced to call the police on them. It's never going to be that. It's never going to be that. I can guarantee you that much. And so Junaid has had the police call on him probably around like 10 times since May 25th, 2026, a few months ago till now. And yesterday was July 16th, 2026. I could tell from the silence that they had the police call on them again by one of these girls that Junaid doesn't even know. And doesn't even know, and only found out about through law enforcement. Then what he did was he started to act like me as much as possible, told people that he was autistic. Not only that, his obsession was being a knight, which you could tell from the brain scanner evidence from before they even told me that there was a brain scanner, that that's what my obsession was about, obviously. And people from my high school would tell you, like Natalia, that they used to call me the History Channel in high school. Like, yeah, and like everything said that he was lacking social skills, due to which he stopped talking to everyone that he knew, only to pretend to be one, even if you lack social skills, you could still talk to people. It's not like you can't talk to people. I just don't have anyone to talk to. I don't have any friends. Like, I remember like one time in high school, someone said that about me. They're like, he doesn't have any friends. And I remember I don't want to say his full name. Let's just say his last name was Allison, and he was like, Hassan, I'm your friend, Hassan. And it was just like kind of like that, it's like the reason I don't talk to anyone is because there's no one to talk to for me. It's just like that. It's just because if you lack social skills doesn't mean you're not going to talk to people. You could still talk to people. You could go hang out if you have anyone to hang out with. It's just that we get overly, like, my natural expressions would be smiling 24/7, not even like this, a lot more than this. They just inhibited it. And on top of that, if I go to like a protest or something, like I didn't go to the Black Lives Matter protest, because if I went to a protest or something and I would see that they have a lot of people there, I would get really overly excited and happy for them, due to which it would show on my facial expressions that this guy is a little too happy for us, and it would just look really socially awkward. That's what it means to lack social skills. You're scared of embarrassing yourself in public. It doesn't mean that you can't talk to people. You can still talk to people. Like, if you want to copy someone, like, just like, they have books on this stuff, just like read it a little bit. They're copying it all wrong. So basically, Junaid copies me every way, shape, or form possible. Even says that he's autistic, lacks social skills. He's obsessed with being a knight, like literally wears glasses 24/7. I only wear it when watching TV or driving. And yeah, it's like after that, he runs after these girls, and then he starts begging them to sleep with him. And like older woman, his mother's age, which no autistic person would ever do, like run after these girls and women and like beg them for like sex and stuff. It's just weird. Like, why would you do that? Because autistic people have their own obsessions, like they're mainly concerned with. They're not gonna like go and beg like older women like their mother's age, like elementary school teachers, and like with kids that are like literally 2 years younger than you. Like, And then like all these other girls, like I'm not saying anything bad about anyone, like they're all really beautiful people and nice and everything. All I'm saying is, and then except for them, there would be like all these girls that were like coming after me, and he would like go beg them that he didn't even know about. And it's just like it's so weird and awkward, like yeah. And it's just, yesterday was July 16th, and I think one of the girls obviously called the police on him again. Like, not something that autistic people would do. Autistic people have their own natural habitats, which would started off for me like the History Channel as a 9-year-old child, went on to being like staring into textbooks and stuff. Yeah. Not like this is like he might be like I'm like, if you lack social skills, it doesn't mean you can't talk to people. You can still talk to people. You're just going to be scared of embarrassing yourself in public due to getting overly excited in front of other people. And the other thing is, what you wouldn't do is beg older women to sleep with you, because that would definitely be against someone being socially awkward, because they're already socially awkward as it is, and that would be really embarrassing, and definitely not something that someone who lacks social skills would ever do. Except for that, yeah, like autistic people have their own natural habitat. These people are insane, like they're copying it all wrong. So basically, yeah. So this morning, after getting rejected by one of the girls yesterday on July 16th and having the police call on him, basically showing through facts and evidences that Jeanette and these people are extremely envious of me. They wanted to run after these girls that were coming after me. They weren't able to, even after copying every single thing about me. And after they ran after these girls and got rejected, they basically saw a way for them to have more time, to buy time by locking up my brain savant, by exaggerating testimonies against me in a court of law, that things that they have nothing to do with. Like when I was a child, it's only being used because all the false testimonies that law enforcement used against me have all been caught to being completely false. 10-year-old child testifying 25 years later in mid-January 2026 that I said anti-government things to him when I was a 10-year-old child has been caught. November 20th, 2025, that law enforcement knew they were about to fabricate even before I went to Russia, that has been fully caught. All the group chat false testimony that the person in law enforcement made overseas from near my overseas pharmacy school, the same person who gets the money fraud money every single month, that's been caught. Like every single one of these were fully fabricated by law enforcement themselves. Even the wedding crime from 2023, while law enforcement ran their sex schemes and money fraud all year 2023 for people like Uncle Joey at the November 2023 funeral, and money fraud every single month. That one, they were trying to frame me for after confessing that I had nothing to do with it, fully caught. So now they have people like Jeanette saying that it's my fault that an adult around me when I was being adult supervised as a child is my fault, and that I should be blamed, even though I was like an 11-year-old child. And even then, it was like my mother had already spoken with law enforcement from beforehand and told law enforcement that she only had to do this due to her being a single mother, and that it would only continue till I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. And yeah, and from the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, I was never even remotely in a setting where anything remotely considered bad could have ever been said around me. Those are what the facts and evidences will show. That's what law enforcement will say in court. That is exactly how it happened. There was only one instance where alarms were raised. Well, it was in 2011 when I went to go visit my dad, one of the only 3 times I've ever met him. And in 2011, obviously there was panic that was raised because my dad was calling people over to his house and giving them sermons on mass murdering innocent human beings, basically joining terror groups. That was the only time. From the moment my mother promised that as soon as I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity, forever, like I would never be seen in any settings where anything you remotely considered bad could be said around me. The only one time that it was one of the 3 times that I've ever met my dad. I've only met him 3 times in my entire life, and the facts and evidences will show you that. I've never talked to him on the phone either. But in 2011, when I went to go meet him, alarms were raised because my dad, the Greedy Framer, was calling people in the masses over to his house to give sermons on mass murdering innocent human beings being just to become a demagogue because of his 5 foot long beard, and he thought that people would give him more attention and listen to him. It would sound more interesting or something like that. And he was basically giving sermons, extremely dangerous, telling people, encouraging them to join terror groups and commit mass murder. So much chaos was raised, mass panic and chaos, with law enforcement witnessing this along with me, that law enforcement basically had one of two options. They either had the option of tipping him off, or starting an investigation. Now, what they should have done was what the government did on November 20th, 2025, which was when the government found out that my dad, the Greedy Framer, and his Framer sisters were planning on making false testimonies against me. The government put a government informant in there to find out that they were definitely doing this. And they also found out that they had more planned lies even for after November 20th, and that except for this, they also confessed to the government informant that it was all due to extreme envy and greed. So basically, that's how you were supposed to handle it. You find out everything through a government informant, but that requires work, and it requires an investigation, something law enforcement never did since 2001. So the only time, from the time I became slightly mentally mature, and my mother never had to put me in with being adult supervised by anyone, willing to watch me for free while she either worked at fast food restaurants or in factories at night, was one instance, and that was one of the 3 instances when I actually went to go meet my dad, the Greedy Framer, in the year 2011. Basically, so much mass panic and chaos was raised because my dad was encouraging people to either join terror groups and mass murder innocent human beings. That was the only instance that has ever happened where my mother's promise was broken. And it was so much mass panic and chaos that law enforcement had one of two options. Either they could tip him off or do an investigation. Obviously, law enforcement tipped him off. That's what they've been doing since 2001. So yeah, they tipped him off, and what ended up happening was every single day he's giving mass murders, sermons on committing mass murders and joining terror groups, and suddenly one day he has a change of heart, and the next day he stops doing that. And I'm just like, okay, so he's definitely been tipped off, and he was definitely tipped off by law enforcement. There's no way, okay, if I was lying, then there's no way I would know that he was tipped off. And if you check back on the facts and evidences, you will find that that is exactly what happened, and he was in fact tipped off. So yesterday was July 16, and envious Junaid was running after one of the girls who were coming after me. And basically what ended up happening was, so basically that's the only time that my mother's promise was broken, and it created mass panic and chaos. That's the only time. So basically, yeah, except for that, it's never happened that my mother's promise was ever broken from the moment I became even slightly mentally mature as a child. So basically, yeah. So the other thing is, yesterday, Junaid was had the police call on him again. Yesterday was July 16th, and the police call on him by one of the girls. Yeah. Not autistic people would, not an autistic thing to do, to be begging these girls and leaving your natural habitat to be begging these girls, and not something that people that lack social skills would do either. Yeah, so police call on him, and so basically envious Junaid, who is basically only doing everything to lock up my brain savant, exaggerating things from my childhood when I was an 11-year-old child with someone saying something around me who would never be my mother, and it was only due to the force and necessity of a single mother. And my mother had already talked to law enforcement, and when I was an 11-year-old child, had gotten permission for me to be there till I gained the slightest mental maturity, promising them that I would never be in a setting where anything you remotely consider bad could ever be said around me ever again. And it never was from the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, despite me living with my mother my entire life. Never even lived in the same country as my dad, the Greedy Framer. Never talked to him on the phone, making it impossible for someone like that, whom I've never lived with, even in the same country, or talked on the phone, to have had any influence on my life whatsoever. The only time when my mother's promise was broken from the moment I became even slightly mentally mature as a child was one of the 3 instances when I've ever met my dad, the Greedy Framer. I've only met him 3 times my entire life. One of those times was in 2011, and alarms were raised because law enforcement either had one of 2 things, the options that they could take. Either they could tip off my dad, the Greedy Framer, in the year 2011, and basically just tell him to stop giving mass sermons on to people to join terror groups and commit mass murder. We don't even know how many people join terror groups, how much mass murders have occurred, anything of that sort of nature. Or law enforcement could tip him off. Knowing law enforcement, they actually tipped him off, and we know for a fact that that did create mass panic amongst law enforcement, because they witnessed, along with me, due to the fact that facts and evidences will show that in 2011 law enforcement was forced to tip him off either by themselves, or they had to contact one of his siblings and get them to tip him off one way or another, have him tipped off not to do this anymore. So it did create mass panic and chaos in 2011, and my mother's promise was only broken once, and that was because I had to meet my dad, the greedy farmer. I've only met him about 3 times my entire life. So the facts and evidences will definitely show you that. So basically, envious Junaid yesterday got rejected by one of the girls that were coming after me, and he was running after them. And basically, the girl called the police on him. Basically, Junaid was running a scam through law enforcement, telling these girls that he was a CEO, even though he did the exact same job as my sister, earned the exact same amount as my sister. The only difference was he lost his job every single year, and he would get into fights with people at his work every single year. And literally, he was about to get early retirement at one time. And I know this for a fact because his mother was like baking cookies for my sister all day long. And so basically, like, someone told the girls that he's not a CEO and that he's just making up these stories. He does the exact same thing my sister does, gets paid the exact same amount. So Junaid getting scared that these girls are not gonna like sleep with him anymore. What he does is he goes to the girls and he tells them everything before someone else does, because he gets scared that someone else is going to tell the girls. So he basically tells them that he loses his job every year. He does the exact same thing as my sister, loses and gets paid the exact same amount, but he loses his job every year. He doesn't get he's not like he doesn't get along with people at his workplace. Obviously, like, he's so envious and envious and lustful. Like, all he does is just run after these girls and beg them for sex all day, night long, till they call the police on him. And then he goes to the court and then he tries to enviously lock up my brain savant using talking points about me being a child when he wasn't even there, only to try to lock up my brain savant due to extreme envy, and so that he could try to continue running after these girls. And so after that, it's just like beyond that, it was he also tells the girls that he's not a CEO. He gets paid the exact same amount my sister does, and that he's almost gotten early retirement before, and that he's definitely probably going to get it this year, since like every single year he loses his job and this is the only option left. So and then he tells the girls all these things before the other person who told them that he was not a CEO and he was just making up these stories. And he would even add stories upon stories. Like, he would just like law enforcement would help him lie, and law enforcement would be like, Ehsan found out that he's a CEO and Ehsan is really jealous of him. And then Junaid would be like, yeah, I wasn't going to tell anyone that I'm a CEO, but now that they've found out, I think I might have to. And like, someone went to these girls and told them everything. Like, he's not a CEO, he's just making up these stories, and law enforcement's helping him make these stories up by adding lies upon it, saying stuff like Ehsan just found out that he's a CEO and got really jealous and stuff like that. And so what Junaid does is he tells the girls everything. He's not a CEO. He works the same job as my sister does, gets paid the exact same amount. The only difference is that he loses his job every single year, and that he's almost gotten early retirement before, but this time, like 2026, he's definitely going to get early retirement, since that seems to be the only option going forward. And that he doesn't get along with people at his work. So he does this only because he's scared that the girls would stop sleeping with him if he doesn't do so. So now the thing about Junaid is, while he's doing this, trying to run after these girls and begging them to sleep with him, he's at the same time begging the courts, using talking points about me as a child, and basically begging the courts and saying, please don't let his brain savant go, or else I would never be able to sleep with any of these girls ever again. And basically, and using talking points saying that when I was a child, some adult might have said something bad around me when I was a child, and that it is a child's fault, even though the adult's never been blamed, and Jeanette was never there when I was a child. He's only using these talking points because of his sex addiction, and we know this for a fact because yesterday was July 16th. For like the 1 million times since the last month or so, he had the police called on him again by one of the girls that are there. So basically, yeah, he's only doing this due to his extreme envy. And the thing about it is, it's not my fault if someone said something bad around me when I was a child. It's that adult's fault, and it's law enforcement's fault, since children are not held liable in the first place. Since also due to the fact that my mother had already gotten permission from law enforcement for me to be adult supervised till I could be I could be the age to be left at home alone, like how she also said on February 15, 2026 at 8:30 p.m. So that she had already gotten a permission from law enforcement for me to be left in any setting where anything even remotely considered bad could be said around me, as long as it was only till I became even slightly mentally mature as a child. So that setting does not count, since first of all, it's only me as a child. My mother would not be present since she's at work, and the other thing is she had already gotten permission from law enforcement. You can check the facts and evidences on this. When I was an 11-year-old child, where she told law enforcement that she was a single mother, she had to leave me behind as a child till I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity to be left at home alone, and that was only after she had already talked to law enforcement, and she would never be present in that setting because she would be either working at fast foods in the afternoon time or factories at night, and that this only lasted till I became even slightly mentally mature as a child, and after which I was never seen in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could ever be said around me ever again, just like how my mother promised, despite me living with my mother my entire life, never with anyone else, never even living with my dad, the greedy framer, or even talking to him on the phone, making it impossible for someone of that sort of nature ever to have had any influence on my life whatsoever, since I'd never even lived within the same country with him ever in my life. And so basically, yeah. So basically, yeah. And so now, except for that, now, the only time my mother's promise was broken from that time when I became slightly mentally mature, despite me always living with her, was the one of three times that I've ever met my dad, the greedy framer. One of those 3 times was in 2011, when I met him, and he was giving sermons to basically calling people over to his house, giving sermons for people to commit jihad, basically, and mass murder innocent human beings by joining terror groups, and it raised mass panic and chaos amongst law enforcement, due to which they had one of 2 options, and they ended up making the bad option, which was to tip him off, which even though they were supposed to do the other option, which was put a government informant in there, like how the government did right before November 20th, 2025, amongst my dad's greedy framer sisters, finding out that my dad's greedy framer sisters were basically fabricating false testimonies against me, and basically, yeah, and not only that, so they had more lies planned out even after November 20th, 2025, and that they were only doing this out of extreme envy, due to which, as soon as they found out, my dad's greedy framer sisters, who found out who the government informant was, they went straight to blackmail for illegal price tags of money before my brain savant could be freed, starting February 21st with like $60 million. They also sent to me at least 8 times. And also, they tried to get me to commit incest with his sisters, for the greedy framer on February 11th at 3:17 a.m. Absolutely disgusting. His weird, ugly sister at 3:56 a.m. February 11th, only because the courts told him February 10th that they knew that he was lying again. And we know that it was an open advertisement for incest, since he was told this on February 11th at 3:17 a.m. and yet he sent it again, the same porn star's picture, 3 times, even after February 11th. He sent it March 7th, 2026, with his sister Farah's name on it. So basically, this talking point for the child doesn't make any sense, since I was a child. I didn't even have I wasn't even mentally mature enough yet in the world, and my mother had already gotten permission from law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, letting them know that as soon as I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity, I would never be present in any setting where anything even remotely considered bad could ever be said around me ever again. Her promise was fulfilled, except for that one time. I've only met my dad, the Grady Framer, about 3 times in my life. One of those 3 times was 2011 when I went to go meet him, and law enforcement, you could check the facts and evidences, they panicked and they had to tip him off one way or another, either by calling one of his sisters and getting them to call him and tell him to stop doing what he's doing, or they went and they tipped him off themselves. But it was like every single day he was giving mass sermons in the masses to people that commit mass murder and join terror groups, commit jihad all across the world. And basically one day he just suddenly stops. So I knew for a fact that he'd been tipped off by law enforcement, because they've been doing this since 2001, which is why us has been roaming around freely and narrating in the trial, even though he was fully involved in the wedding incident crime. And yeah, he's a criminal. So basically, yeah, this talking point that law enforcement has given to Junaid doesn't make any sense to begin with, since my mother had already gotten permission for it when I was an 11-year-old child. And when I was being adult supervised, basically, it was after she'd already gotten permission. She would never be present there, clearly showing from facts and evidences that she was working and that I was being adult supervised by anyone who would be willing to do so for free, just like how she told law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child, and that it only lasted till I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, and never again after that, except for that one incident in 2011, which was not our fault. And you could check the facts and evidences on that. My dad, the Grady Framer, was tipped off in 2011, which is why he suddenly stopped, and that's why I know that he was tipped off, because you don't just change overnight one day after you're giving sermons like that every single day. So that is definitely what happened in 2011. Now, Junaid is trying to use that talking point, trying to exaggerate as much as possible, even though he wasn't there. He's only doing this due to his extreme envy of me not being able to run after these girls, even after copying every single thing about me, even my disease condition of autism. And even then, he's getting rejected by these girls. And yesterday was July 16th. He had the police call on him by one of these girls. And now this morning, Junaid and law enforcement have been threatening me July 17th to basically break the windshield of my car and do things of that sort of nature. Let me show you the evidence on this. So today is July 17th. And so it started off with this. It's basically a T-Mobile commercial. It's July 17, 7:12 a.m. timestamped. And it's basically like a T-Mobile commercial. And it basically says, it's better over here. And it's like the 2 guys working together. And they basically want me to help him run these scams on these girls. So I said no right at 7:12 a.m. this morning, July 17th. And so then they started with the Safe Light ad to try to threaten to break my car. The 7:12, I said no. 7:33, they start threatening to break my car windshield. And we already know this, since I have been saying this every single day, each and every single day. I've been saying that law enforcement has been threatening to do this whenever I would say that I don't want to help them scam these girls due to their sex addiction, which no autistic person would actually have, because autistic people have their own obsessions that they're obsessed with. So Safe Light ad right here a few minutes after this morning, after I said no to it. So yeah, and then and that Safe Light ad came with this ad for Moana, 7:35 a.m. So there is that ad for Moana. Whoever Moana is supposed to be is the person that they want me to do, and I'm gonna say something about this in a second. I'm going to say something about this in a second. So basically, and then the Moana ad was with this. He basically uses this cream, Junaid does. So they're basically using his name with this ad and trying to say that it's him that I have to help run after these girls. And also, yeah. So the thing that I have to tell these girls is, so Moana, whoever it is the person that they want me to help them with. The thing that I have to tell these girls is, if there's a person out there who claims that they have a very rare brain savant and that it's about to get freed, and after it gets freed, they're going to become extremely rich. But before their brain savant is freed, if that guy sleeps with you, congratulations, you have just been scammed. And obviously, use common sense The guy claims that he's going to be extremely rich as soon as his brain savant gets freed. And before it's even freed, he goes ahead and he sleeps with you. How special do you think you are that he's going to ruin his chances of becoming extremely rich by sleeping with someone before he even gets to that point and has his brain savant freed? Obviously, the guy would then be lying, and you have just been scammed. So if I did ever try to sleep with any of these girls who are coming after me and my brain savant's not even been freed yet, just know that if I try to sleep with you when my brain savant's not been freed yet, then I would have been a liar and I would have been a scam artist, because I would have never, ever ruined my chances of being able to achieve my dreams after my brain savant would get freed, before it's even freed, by sleeping with someone. And that's just not, because the person could make accusations against me afterwards, get money, get all kinds of things from me. It's just, I would be a liar then. That's common sense. So if I ever ask you to sleep with me when my brain savant isn't even freed yet, just know that I would be a liar then, and you would be an idiot for sleeping with me then. So that's what I had to say about this. Okay, so there is law enforcement scam. I cannot help you in this anymore, because if I did, I would definitely be a liar and I'd be a scam artist then, because I'm not going to ruin my chances of becoming rich after my brain savant would get freed. By the way, this theory I never started in the first place. Only reason I even know that law enforcement went around telling everyone about this theory is due to the fact that every time I would go to the mosque, they would have the imam of the mosque start reading off. Not every time. It happened at least twice in 2 different mosques right over here in Maryland. And they would have the imam of the mosque start reading out 2876, which was Qarun in the Quran, and basically saying that you're going to be extremely rich, but you're going to be like Qarun, and God hated Qarun. So yeah, I knew that what they were saying to these people about me. The other thing is, they also told these people about this before I even told a single person about it. So people like Miss Deb is a prime example of this. Miss Deb has been fully aware of this in mid-June 2023, when the facts and evidences will show that despite me being watched 24/7, I have never even uttered this into anyone's ears before August 25th, 2023, when I won my case. And then obviously after then, I was just like, I want to study, I want to study, I want to study. I kept saying this over and over again. And I just told them, I know you know about my brain savant. I know you have a brain scanner. But yeah, as far as their little scam goes, all I have to tell these girls is, if I ever try to sleep with you, or even basically try to come close to you, just know that if I do, then I would have to be a scam artist and I would have to be a liar, due to the fact that I'm not going to ruin my chances of actually becoming that way and achieving my dreams by basically sleeping with someone before my brain savant is even freed, and ruining those chances and getting those lawsuits right after it's even freed. So yeah, if I try to sleep with you, or even ask you to sleep with me, or even try to contact you or run after you in any way, shape, or form, then just know, then that means that I'm a liar and a scam artist. So yeah, this scam that law enforcement is running, it cannot work with me when my brain savant is still locked. Can't work with me, because if I did run after these girls when my brain savant is still locked, then I would have to obviously be a liar and a scam artist. Like, who would ruin their chances of actually achieving their dreams after their brain savant is freed by going around running after these girls and sleeping with them and begging them to sleep with them, or yeah, anything of that sort of nature, even trying to contact these girls? Who would ruin their chances of achieving their dreams after their brain savant is freed by basically running after these girls even before then, so that after the brain savant is released, and these girls can go and try to make false accusations against me? Not saying that they would do that, but like, yeah, just saying, if a person had a brain savant and it was locked up, he would never ever try to contact you, run after you, even talk to you, or do anything of that sort of nature before his brain savant was freed. So there you go. I can't help with this scam right now until my brain savant is locked anyways, because common sense dictates that if I did have a brain savant and it was locked up, that I was running after these girls and contacted them and giving them the ability to make false accusations against me after my brain savant would be freed, and for them to say that he actually did this and this or said this and this afterwards, like how Miss Deb and Farah the Greedy Framer are doing, then obviously I would have to be a liar and a scam artist. How do you know this? Because I wouldn't like it. The guy's claiming he could be extremely rich with this brain savant, and before it's even freed, he's ruining his chances of being that way by running after these girls and begging them to sleep with him. What are the chances that he's telling the truth? Obviously, he'd be lying. And so, yeah. Speaking of Miss Deb and Farah the Greedy Framer, who are obviously doing this, so I can't help with the scam thing anyways. These girls, like, I already told them, like, I can't help with this scam thing anyways, because if I was running after them, then obviously I would have to be a liar, because no guy would ruin his chances of actually becoming extremely rich by running after these girls in the first place. But speaking of Farah the Greedy Framer and Miss Deb, these people have, they have changed their strategy now. So before we, so I already talked about Junaid and, like, all the threats that I just received this morning. So Farah the Greedy Framer is still running after me for her daughter Zara, and this is the ad for this morning. 7:52 a.m. July 17th. There it is for Zara again this morning, and she is also running after me for her other daughter Ifra, which now I know has gotten a divorce, or else she wouldn't be doing this. Extremely annoying, by the way. And here is the ad for Ifra, July 15th, 10:43 a.m. And she put ads for her, yeah. And you could get law enforcement and you would know that she's advertising 2 daughters to me now, not just one. And I told her June 19th, like, I don't want your ugly looking daughters, lady. Like, I don't want your abnormal looking daughters. I don't want them. I do not want them. You're arguing in court against me that basically I am a bad person whose brain savant shouldn't get freed, and at the same time you're advertising your daughters to me, and now you've got 2 daughters that you're advertising. So that's what I have to tell the girls. If I slept with you, I'd be a liar and a scam artist, because you could do what these people are doing, what Miss Deb and Farah the Greedy Framer are doing, which would basically mean that I'm a liar and a scam artist, because I would never, ever, ever sacrifice my chances of achieving my dreams after my brain savant would get freed if I was actually telling the truth about having a brain savant in the first place. So yeah, I'm not helping with the scam anyways. I can't do so, and it's just like, yeah, law enforcement's gonna have to do this, run this scam on themselves. They got the police call on them yesterday. Not my problem. Not my problem. You go run after these girls, and they're already doing everything out of extreme envy against me anyways. And so, yeah. And also, Miss Deb has also changed her strategy as well. And so Miss Deb, what she's been doing is Miss Deb was giving him ads for her daughter Ashley, using the Ashley's Furniture ad, and now she's no longer doing that. Instead, she's doing her husband, who was supposed to be Will Ferrell. We know this from before. You can ask law enforcement. The facts and evidences will show that she did ask law enforcement to put these ads on there for her. So basically, yeah. So Miss Deb is also basically trying to run after me still, even though her daughter's married. Like, who are you trying to advertise? Yourself? You're married. Your daughter, she's married. Like, you can't be saying that you just want to be friends with me due to what you're advertising your family to me, because you're arguing in court that I'm a bad person whose brain savant should get locked up, and at the same time you're begging me to be your friend. Like, doesn't make any sense. Why would you want a bad person to be your friend, Miss Deb? Your story doesn't make any sense. Basically, Miss Deb was only enviously locking up my brain savant because she knew that I wasn't going for her daughter anymore, and she wanted it locked up so that I can't go with anyone else. And now that she sees that it could get freed, she wants me to go to her, and she keeps like advertising one way or another. It started with Ashley's Furniture, and now she's advertising her husband to me. She's still doing this. So this is July 15th, 4:04 a.m. A Netflix ad for the movie The Hawk. Okay, The Hawk. And this is what this movie looks like. It's basically Will Ferrell. Okay, and that's what it's in that movie. And so, yeah. And then, except for that, you also have other Will Ferrell ads on there. Basically, this one, July 15th, 3:50 a.m., Will Ferrell driving the truck. It's the Lay's ad. Yeah. The same Lay's ad on 3:50 a.m., July 15th. And then he just says, jump on America, like jump on the bandwagon. 3:51 a.m., July 15th. Jump on the bandwagon, as in, yeah. So Miss Deb is basically still doing this, and she's still running after me. She's just using different kinds of ads, and this is just from July 15th. Also, law enforcement has my laptop charger not working. They use their tools to like break it. They need to they can let go of it and let me use my laptop so that I can type up my journals. They're not letting me type it up. If you have nothing to hide, then why are you hiding the truth, and why are you trying to make it so that I can't write my journals anymore? This is just wrong. So I had to say that as well. And yeah, these people are basically running scams on me, Miss Deb and Farrah the Greedy Framer. Farrah is now running a scam for two daughters. Ifrah, who's probably gotten a divorce, and Zara, like two daughters at the same time. Like, what do I look like, John Bon Jovi to you? Like, seriously, like, I'm sick and tired of this BS. Like, these people are trying to scam me, and like, they're arguing in court that I'm a bad person whose brain savant should get locked up, and at the same time, they're continuously running after me for their daughters. You don't want a bad person to marry your daughter. You're not trying to be friends with a bad person. So obviously you're only making false testimonies, lies, and exaggerations against me to lock up my brain savant due to extreme envy, because you don't think that you could get any of my brain savant money after I would get freed. And at the same time, you're advertising not one but two of your daughters to try to get me to marry them. So you can run your prenup marriage scam on me with that $60 million Farrah the Greedy Framer sent to me after being caught with numerous lies, even after November 20th, that we know she was involved in because the government informant said it when she was removed from the spokesperson stand. And so yeah, it's just fraud is what it is. And she's trying to make me sign this prenup marriage scam for money. And we know this for a fact because she would tell law enforcement to send these ads to me to try to check to see if I'm willing. So law enforcement basically used the brain scanner and told her, like, he's not interested in your daughter. So she's like, try with this daughter. And she starts sending it for Ifrah now. And she's like, you can check the facts and evidences on this. She definitely asked law enforcement to do this. And she's having two daughters advertised to me at the same time. Like, what is wrong with this woman? She's claiming in court that I'm a bad person whose brain savant should get locked up. And at the same time, she's doing this. And Miss Deb, who probably got embarrassed because they were just like, your daughter's married, so who are you advertising? And Miss Deb's probably like, oh, okay. And then she told law enforcement, just keep using the brain scanner, just change the person from Ashley to my husband, to advertise my husband, to see, check for the brain scanner if he looks like he's going to be willing to join my family. Like, how can I join your family? Like, what are your plans? Are you going to make your daughter divorce her husband? Like, or make me sign a prenup so you can run a scam on me? Obviously, that's what it is. These people are all scam artists. They're predators that prey on people that are either like lottery ticket winners or people that have like a brain savant like myself, and they're preying on me to try to get money out of me using this marriage scam, and they're still doing it. Like Farrah the Greedy Framer, like this morning that I just showed you for Zara, and she's advertising two of her daughters, Zara and Ifrah. It's so annoying. Like, I don't want your daughter, man. Like, I told you June 19th, I'm not interested. Like, please stop. This is basically a scam. She's telling the courts I'm a bad person whose brain savant should get locked up. At the same time, she's telling law enforcement to send me ads for her daughter. Like, I'm not interested. I don't want your daughter. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Miss Deb is the same thing. Miss Deb is using a brain scanner to try to check to see if I would ever become willing to marry her daughter or sign this prenup marriage scam under force and pressure of her arguing against me in court. Using it doesn't make any sense though. Like, you're telling the courts I'm a bad person whose brain savant should get locked up, and at the same time you're trying to force me to marry your daughter? No, obviously not. You're just trying to force me to sign a marriage prenup marriage scam so he could harass me for the rest of my life for money after I would run away. And the only reason I would even sign it would be under pressure of these people arguing against me in court. And after my brain savant would get freed, this case would be over. Obviously, I would run away. If I would run away, then they would harass me for the rest of my life using that divorce and prenup scam marriage agreement to get money out of me. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.